Welcome! Today I'd like to share with you three of my favorite Scandi knives that I use mostly in the woods and for woodworking. The first is the Lars Falt knife from Casstrom, Sweden, in Sleipner steel. The second one is the Reef Knives in CPM 3V, the S5. And then the third one is the Nord Knife design in 1095. Those are knives that I use mostly in woodworking and for fire preparation and around camp use. The Nord Knife design is in 1095 carbon steel. The blade is long 13 centimeters, just a bit more than 5 inches. Is a full tang knife. The handle is very simple. It's not really broomstick style because it's a little bit more square. It's not completely round. The spine is pretty sharp, and in general is a pretty tough knife to be a so small and traditional looking knife. I'm processing some wood for the fire. I'm processing some wild cherry that is basically in my area the most hard wood that makes sense to process for start a fire. Other woods like oak or something like that I really don't think can be a good tinder to start the fire. Wild cherry is okay, is in the harder side, but still if it's dry enough can be a good option to start a fire. As the vast majority of the Scandi knife that I own, this knife want to bite the wood a little bit too much to make very curly feather sticks. But I mean, as especially if you don't going to use the fire steel, but other ignition system is gonna work pretty fine as well. In my opinion, good enough. The Casstrom Lars Falt is simply a great knife. For 2 years, this knife has been my most used knife in any situation, any scenario, and I really love it. I love the aesthetic, I love how it's alive in the hand. I really like also how this candy ground is realized because it's stiff but is also very tough. It's very catchy in the wood, can slice pretty well to be a 4 mm blade, and doesn't rust so easily, for sure not in a marine environment, but it's simply a great knife that is underestimated around the bushcraft community because can do a lot, much more a lot than how it shows when you see on the paper or on internet. It keeps the edge very well. For me, it's just one of the best knife that a person can buy, and for what you get, it's a very reasonable price, especially if you live in Europe. Very easy and very good for me. Those feathers are pretty catchy. The Reef Knife S5 in CPM 3V. A great knife, a beast of a knife. The grind of this knife is a little bit more acute than the Lars Falt, more close to the Knife Design knife, and it want to catch more in the wood and is a little bit more hard to make feather stick properly, that curves properly, but at the end, as you can see, it works very well. To be fair, this one is not more wild cherry, but is silver fir. Pretty seasoned, to be honest. Okay, feathers, maybe not the more fine and YouTube friendly one, but okay. Testing a knife on YouTube, it's pretty tricky because it's very hard to make it real. For example, in this case, I'm taking a piece of hardwood, is olive wood, that I cut at the beginning of the summer. Now we are at the end of the summer, so 4 or 5 months ago. The wood is pretty hard, and now I'm trying to cut through the piece, just carving around with the blade. In my modest opinion, this test is very representative of one of the more stressful things that you can do to the edge in a real world. I mean, because okay, you can bite a stone, you can cut a brick, etc. But in my opinion, in the real life, this one is something that you're gonna do often, but it can be very stressful, especially for a Scandi ground knife. Scandi ground really excels in this kind of utilitarian carving. I mean, not if you have to do fine whittling or something like that. You need something more like an eye Scandi, like you can find in a pucco or in a whittling knife. But this medium degree um, grind is very good for this kind of job. And again, this is pretty hard wood. Lars Falt knife, it's a great knife, as I said. It's very versatile, even if it's really dedicate shape and grind. The Sleipner steel, it's pretty tough. I know that it's not the toughest steel around, but with this geometry, with that treatment that Casstrom give to it, it's amazing. And I don't know why in the bushcraft community is not so well recognized as one of the best knife you can buy, but for me it's really a super knife. It's easily going through the wood, and it keeps the edge for a long time. Even if the angle is a little bit stiffer than the other two blades that we are comparing today, its capacity is second to none. It's very good, and it's a pleasure to use. Again, sometimes in the paper you can say, okay, the steel, the grind, degree of the grind, the thickness of the blade, the length of the blade, etc., etc. But in the real life, this knife is very well made. The Reef S5, it's a strange knife for me sometimes. It's almost a survival knife, dedicate, but the grind is very thin. So at the end, it's very slicey in the wood, can carve pretty well, cut through the wood very easily, but it's not so tough as you can imagine, even if it's 3V steel. The blade is long 5 inches, and if you compare to the 4.5 inch of the Lars Falt, it looks everything a little bit bigger and overbuilt. Making a point with this knife, it's very easy. This knife can handle so much more than this. The handle is one of the best handle I ever had in my hand. Compared to the Lars Falt, is a little bit bigger, a little bit longer, and the shape is a little bit more ergonomic and less neutral. But anyway, it's worked very well. Making a notch with any Scandi ground knife, it's very easy usually. Really doesn't matter if it's a Mora, if it's a Lars Falt, or whatever. In this case, the wood is pretty hard, and just for the sake of this example and this test, and all the three knives work pretty well. This Nordknife design is working fine. Probably if was after of an entire day of cutting, splitting, etc., it could have lost a little bit of sharpness. Easy, clean, fast. Also with Lars Falt, no problem at all, right? And the wood is the same. Lars Falt usually, in my experience, keep the edge longer than 1095. And again, this knife is a really good knife, and that is going over the capacity of the steel, the grind, etc. It's more what you feel in the end that you cannot see on internet or on the paper. It's something that, like the, the knife, it's very well designed, and is alive in the end. It has on life. Also, the Reef S5 is a great knife. It's a knife that really can do whatever you need around the camp. The slicing capacity on the wood is a little bit higher than the Lars Falt, but at the end of the day, it doesn't make the work so much easier. It's just a different feeling mostly. The 5-inch blade and handle really appear and feels bigger in the hands compared to the Lars Falt. Anyway, a great knife. So, some conclusions. The Nordknife design, it's a very traditional knife. Really, you could encounter something like that 200 years ago. It works fine. The spine is sharp. The steel is good enough to work around the camp. It's not very expensive. Good knife. Lars Falt, for me, the best of the bunch. It's very comfortable at the end. It feels alive. Is a very good knife. It's not a very good steel, very good blade. It's just a very good knife, and it's 4 mm, exactly like the other two. And then the Reef knife is again 4 mm. The handle is a little bit more coke shape, and is in micarta. I never said so far, but is in micarta. Very comfortable. The edge, it's a little more fine, and sometimes can microchip a little bit, even if it's 3V. Something, to be honest, that I didn't experience with the 1095, and not even with the Sleipner. No fixed blade is complete without a proper sheath. The Nordknife design has this very well made leather sheath, square. It fits very well, it's secure, has a dangler built in. It's a good sheath, I really like. The Lars Falt has his own sheath in cognac tan leather with the fire steel loop. It fit very well. I used a lot, as you can see, and I'm pretty happy with it. For the Reef knife, I made myself this leather sheath because the knife arrived without any sheath, and it works fine. It's okay. Thanks for watching.